Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Material Innovation Conference. It's really so wonderful to have so many of you here today. My name is Nicole Rawling, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Material Innovation Initiative. And it's a pleasure to be joined by Michael Preysman, who is the founder and executive chairman and climate lead of Everlane. And we're both really thrilled to be joining you all today. So what I want to say is that it's truly an exciting time to be part of the next-gen material revolution. And this is really just the beginning. So some of our own research, we've calculated that a total of $2.3 billion has been invested in next-gen materials since 2015. And the amount in 2021 more than doubled that in 2020. So even among the COVID-19 pandemic, the capital invested in 2021 alone nearly equaled that of the previous 4 years combined. And in our last publication, we calculated that 95 companies making next-gen materials, and the majority of those companies, actually 55 out of the 95 total, were established after 2014. And as I'm sure you'll all see throughout today and tomorrow and in the attendee list, that I think a true indicator of interest and potential growth in this industry is the amazing developments, the technology, and the top industry names you will hear from this week, including everybody attending the conference. So I seriously want you to check out the amazing people in this room, as this will be the future of the industry. So our goal over these next 2 days is to advance the next-gen materials industry by providing vital expertise and bringing together all key players along the innovation path, from concept to commercialization. And we want to support the growth of the market for next-gen materials and to accelerate the development and adoption of these next-gen materials. So unfortunately, I need to start with some logistics because I want to make sure that everyone knows how this conference platform works, and you can, meet people when you want to. So there are really so many industry leaders in the virtual room today. So I really encourage you to take advantage of the networking opportunities. So I know it's a virtual conference and sometimes we can still feel isolated, but this platform really is a great way to connect with people. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the People tab and view the list of attendees today. And you can send direct messages and schedule one-on-one video calls. We also have our speed networking room, which can be found on the left-hand side of the screen. And this is a chance for you to be automatically matched with other attendees who share your interests for a one-on-one conversation. So you should have been asked for some prompts when you signed up on who you'd like to meet. And so that networking room will help match you with those people. And then don't forget to exchange some virtual business cards so that you can connect with people after the session is over. And then in the networking room, you will also see a list of recommended connections based on your interest. So you can go through this list and reach out directly to anyone who you'd like to speak with. And then finally, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of our wonderful event partners who are supporting us today. You'll be hearing from many of them during our sessions over the coming days, but please don't forget to visit their virtual booths. And you can see those through the Expo button on the left-hand side of your screen. You can actually see one for us too. And many of our partners will be available for live chats during the networking breaks. So please don't be afraid to go into the booths, share your audio and video, and connect directly with them. And then don't forget to also submit some questions through the stage chat. So we have really top industry experts here who are willing to answer your questions. So on the right-hand side of your screen, put in the questions. I'll be monitoring them and make sure that they get over to the right panelists. We do have a lot of dedicated time for Q&A in each session. So please do it. And if you have a particular question for one particular speaker, just put their name in too, so I know who to get that to. So, and if you have any questions navigating the platform, feel free to also drop a question in the event chat, and my team will make sure we'll help. So now with that out of the way, we can get into some fun discussions. I'm really thrilled to have Michael here chairing the event with me. And Michael, it's really such a pleasure having you here because of Everlane's wonderful reputation for innovation, transparency, sustainability. And I know you just launched your first annual impact report. You had the new bags from Deserto cactus leather. I think later this year you might have some more bio leather bags launching. I'm sure you're going to talk about all of this in your session later today. But when I reached out to you, so I'm just curious, when I reached out to you to chair the conference with me, like, what made you say yes?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me here, and I am likewise similar to you, very excited about this agenda, and just I would say the importance of materials is so critical in the foundation of the work that we do, and I think everyone's doing. And so when you guys launched, I was just so excited about the whole opportunity with MII, and then even more so with MIC. And I think in particular, when you look at Everlane, we've always started from first principles. So it's founded on this idea of doing right by people and the planet. And the planet side of what we do, when you look at our impact report and all the detail around it, we started making commitments around materials in 2018. The first was actually around polyester. And we wanted to remove all the virgin polyester because plastic comes from oil, and we wanted to get rid of virgin oil. And so we've made that commitment to be 100% virgin plastic free. We're, I think, 90% plus. And on the actual materials, the fibers were 97%, which is amazing. Same thing on the cotton, looking to get to 100% organic cotton. We're now even looking at things like pre-organic, because the qualifications, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of this today or tomorrow, is how do you help invest in this and get people to the next stage? And that pre-organic is a nice way to invest before you get organic, because the transition takes some time. And that happens in the same way with a lot of the work we're doing around leather. We got to find these new companies and invest in them. And so to date, we've have 3 innovative materials we've launched in that world with great partners, what we call Re-Leather, Deserto, and then the work with Modern Meadow and Biofabrica, which is, I happen to have that bag right here, which is great. And it's amazing. And all of them are just so amazing. So I'm just so excited about the innovation. To put a pin in this specifically, when we look at the simplest place to make an impact, materials are about a third of our carbon footprint of the entire scope 3, scope 2, scope 1. So it's just getting this right, and switching, for example, from virgin leather to next gen leather is a 90% reduction in that material alone. So there's just so much opportunity here. So I'm really, really excited.
Oh, thank you so much. And I really loved what you said too innovation takes time. And the Everlane working with these material companies, right, with Deserto and Modern Meadow, does make a big difference, not only in helping those companies develop their material, right, because you're the expert in what Everlane, products need to be, what those material performance metrics have to be to really meet consumer demand. So I'm always really excited to see when brands are partnering with these material companies and supporting them. And like you said, more investment in the industry is just going to advance it quicker.
Big time. I think it's just what I think about here before we jump into all of this is particularly in fashion, but I think in all industry is that we're consumer brands. And so our opportunity is not just to work with all the great companies, but it's to help also tell their story. Because if we tell that story, we're influencing consumer perception of the industry, and consumers at the end of the day vote with their dollars. And so what I'm excited about is also not just all the innovation happening, but the partnership between brands and a lot of the innovative companies here to figure out how do we communicate and educate. And so that's a really exciting part. I'm so excited to see and meet all these wonderful companies.
I know, me too. And actually, that might be a good time to introduce our headline sponsors. I am really excited to announce the first speakers of the day. So Gavin McIntyre and Barry McGeough. Gavin is the co-founder and chief commercialization officer of Forager. Forager is a subsidiary of Ecovative, bringing the biomaterials revolution to diverse global markets at scale. And Gavin has won numerous awards for advancing mycelium technology in a range of products and industries. Barry is the Global Vice President of Advanced Concepts and Innovation at Wolverine Worldwide and has established a brand-centric, high-impact operating model that drives the company's diverse portfolio of brands to produce growth portfolio of advanced materials, sustainable solutions, and emerging consumer-centric technologies that accelerate the execution of innovations in both physical product and digital transformation. And I do want to say that Barry recently had some surgery, so unfortunately he'll be speaking to us in audio only today. He won't be able to share video. So I'd also like to ask you and join me in sending Barry some positive energy in his recovery. And thank you, Barry, so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, Nicole. Really a pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with the Material Innovation Conference audience. And so good morning, afternoon, and evening, depending on where you are out there in digital device land. As Nicole mentioned, I'm Gavin McIntyre. I serve as the co-founder and chief commercial officer of Forager, which is a division here at Ecovative where we design and grow better materials with mycelium. And so for the uninitiated, for those of you who may not be familiar, mycelium is the fibrous root-like structure of mushrooms, which we use to grow sustainable biomaterials. But before getting into that, I do have a brief announcement that I'm super excited about. And I'm maybe in a little bit of disbelief because next week, we as an organization actually celebrate our 15th birthday. And this is important to us because Ecovative truly introduced mycelium as a commercial biomaterial in the before times of 2007. If you can think back then, millions of people were really listening to music like from Hey There, Delilah on their initial iPod shuffles. And I think I still have mine somewhere, but not quite sure where it is in the house. And the field of biomaterials was really nowhere near as vibrant as it is today. Few, if any, people were really thinking about mycelium in the terms of material science. And yet here I am today, of course, alongside with Barry, with the opportunity to talk about mycelium materials with representatives of world-class brands at a global fashion conference. So I think this really speaks to how far we've come, but it also makes perfect sense because at this moment, biomaterials have truly arrived and they stand to make some of the biggest impact in the fashion and apparel industries. For us, and the upcoming anniversary is really an opportunity to reflect on the record of success bringing mycelium materials to scale in several industries, as well as the fantastic team and partnerships we've been able to cultivate along the way. As we develop and commercialize the next generation of biomaterials in exciting new markets, we're looking forward to the coming 15 years being even better than the last. From our very first day, our mission has always been one of improving legacy industries with the most negative environmental impact. I'm sure that everyone at this conference truly understands that reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and factory farming is really critical for our future. But we must do more than using less. To really shift an entire industry towards sustainability, we have to provide viable, even superior alternative materials that fit into existing supply chains. Historically, our approach has really been to valorize local waste streams, truly a circular model from agriculture, transforming them into higher value mycelium materials that are fully compatible with nature at the end of their life. In a way, this actually reflects the role that fungi play in the woods, where they transform old leaves and logs into new life, really getting ready for the next season. What if even big, complex industries like fashion could actually play a positive role in those life cycles instead of compromising them? At Ecovative, we truly that this isn't only possible, but it really is necessary. And we see mycelium as one of the key solutions to getting there. And that's why late last year, we launched Forager, which is our dedicated division focused on mycelium-based soft goods, such as leather-like hides, technical insulation, and even elastomeric foams, which serve to replace plastics, scrap, chemicals, and other unsustainable aspects of the fashion and apparel industry. Forager is literally growing the next generation of fashion and apparel materials, and we've designed this with circularity in mind. Our team is built on what is known as solid state fermentation, which you can think of as a more technologically sophisticated version of mushroom farming. Innovation here is largely a matter of uncovering the hidden wealth of physical material properties that are already found in mushrooms that were common in nature. And this is something that we call internally the forager's secret. It turns out that nature has already done a lot of the amazing innovation work for us, which we unlock and apply to functional, high performance, and aesthetically beautiful materials completely free of fossil fuel-based chemistry. As I mentioned earlier, we've been at this for 15 years, and we've been able to demonstrate commercial viability of mycelium materials with our first technology, which we call mycocomposites. This is the base technology for our mushroom packaging products, which is a protective packaging alternative to the conventional polystyrene foams, which are often known as styrofoam. In this instance, we really use mycelium as a kind of glue. It grows and binds natural feedstocks like wood chips and seed hulls together. We have been able to achieve producing these products at scale by building relationships with farmers and connecting supply chains across the agricultural community. Over the last decade and a half, these products have been able to reach global scale, competing directly with plastic foams and displacing millions of pounds of plastics annually. This success has really allowed us to foster a vast network of licensing partners that currently grow mushroom packaging and our mycocomposite technologies on 3 continents today. But we've always known that the greatest potential was found in the pure mycelium alone. And so that's why, nearly a decade ago now, we developed the Air Mycelium platform, which produces 100% pure mycelium materials that is free of binders, chemicals, fossil fuels, additives, and anything else that we believe has a negative impact on our planet. This process takes advantage of the natural ability of these microscopic mycelium threads to bind and weave themselves together into complex structures with amazing material properties, using a fraction of the embodied energy and far less greenhouse gas emissions than conventional animal agriculture or plastic-based materials. It also enables performance attributes that we otherwise have not seen within the realm of either fossil or animal-based products. A great instance is we've been able to demonstrate the ability to create a highly breathable insulation that has thermal properties that are consistent with conventional goose down. Forager, of course, runs on our Air Mycelium platform, which we actually developed with apparel in mind nearly a decade ago. But we first brought this technology to market with our My Bacon product almost 2 years ago now. My Bacon is a delicious alternative for conventional pork bacon and was our first real progress at making an impact on animal agriculture. We're now addressing factory farming's co-products, specifically the animal hides and skins that are sold as secondary products of meat production. Not long ago, to claim that mushrooms could do all of this, you'd get some funny looks. I know from personal experience back in 2007, but now it really seems to be just a matter of fact. Mycelium represents many possibilities that are still yet to be fully explored for fashion, apparel, and many other industries alike. Every piece or component is produced with intention from beginning to end, not just in terms of overall shape, but also in the microscopic structure of the material itself, and it's truly tuned for its intended application. This sense of purpose is especially appropriate when bringing new materials to an artisanal field such as leather tanneries, which have centuries of expertise and tradition. When it comes to leather, the primary source of hides today is, of course, unsustainable animal agriculture, and there's often little choice but to use toxic chemistry for processing them in order to meet consumer needs. With Forager, we don't believe that's necessary any longer. For instance, we grow an alternative to wet blue hides that offer an attractive option for tanneries looking to eliminate the need for caustic chemicals such as chromium. It's our goal to provide tanneries a sustainable option that is worthy of their tradition. All of us know that for any of this to make a difference, scale is key. With so many moving parts behind every product, it will require all of us to come together across many trades and disciplines and combine our learnings to really accelerate the adoption of these materials. New technologies are exciting, but unless they're widely available, affordable, and democratized, we really won't see the quick and dramatic shifts towards sustainability that are truly necessary. And I will note that over the past 15 years, not only have we scaled technology, we've learned a lot of hard lessons that we're now applying to our future work. Earlier this year, we began integrating mushroom technology with third-party mushroom farms, starting at Whitecrest Mushrooms in Putnam, Ontario. This was really a great demonstration that we could replicate our process really anywhere in the world and marks a step towards a truly distributed biomaterials manufacturing system, unlocking hundreds of already existing mushroom farms around the world to support in the production of Forager's materials. Anything that we learn from these processes can be applied directly back to our air mycelium platform in existing farms, informs and improves the overall technology, and really helps accelerate our time to market. Our foundry process is driven by collaborations such as the one that we have with Wolverine worldwide, whose feedback is really critical to designing and refining the materials that we will eventually ship them for production. Brand partners and suppliers tell us the qualities and attributes that they want from a material, and our team tests individual mushroom strains drawn from a vast biological library using an array of growth chambers that are really no bigger than a mailbox to quickly identify the best opportunities to either meet or exceed their performance expectations. Our partners know their products' needs and what their customers' desires are. Our foundry team can quickly deliver on those materials' needs in the form of customized, earth-friendly biomaterials. With a company such as Wolverine Worldwide, which is an amazing house of very recognizable brands, this opens up new possibilities for an entire family of products. And of course, all learnings from the foundry directly plug into our scalable mycelium farms so that our production capacity grows, the potential impact of each innovation increases as well. Just this past year, when Evan spoke at this conference, we announced that we were building the world's largest mycelium farm in the world, and we're now weeks away from that official commissioning. Meanwhile, we are multiplying that output by, of course, interfacing with billions of pounds and square feet of existing mushroom farm capacity around the globe. A decade and a half of innovating new materials has underscored the importance of working together and of incorporating others' perspectives and experience in what we do. Rather than attempting to overhaul entire industries by ourselves, which is truly an impossible task, we are establishing a rich network of cooperative partners that pair product and market specialists with our mycelium expertise. Our goal is to continue expanding that mycelium network, and hopefully with some folks like you. And so on that note, I'd like to shift here to introduce once again Barry McGeough, Global Vice President of Innovation at Wolverine Worldwide, to both talk about both some of the initiatives at Wolverine and, of course, our partnership. And I truly believe that Wolverine is a great example of the kinds of partnerships that we're forming and intend to form over the coming years, as a house of brands like Wolverine truly specializes in both supply chain logistics, and they even operate their own tanneries, providing deep knowledge of the market and manufacturing landscape that offers exciting opportunities to apply our mastery of mycelium. And so with that, I'm super excited to be joined now by Barry. Hey, Barry.
Gavin, thanks so much. Happy birthday. As I listen to you speak, I'm ridiculously proud. That's a great presentation, and super proud that we're part of the Foundry. So really excited to talk for a couple of minutes. Gavin has asked me to speak for a couple of minutes on what our process is inside of innovation. And really, it's meant to be a primer on context. So describing the process will give some idea of the context of why we're so excited about this partnership. Next slide. So for those of you that don't know Wolverine, we are a portfolio of brands. We have 13 brands, 12 footwear brands, and 1 apparel brand, Sweaty Betty, which is a new acquisition last year. We at the Innovation Division are super proud to support all 13 brands and their innovation development needs. Next. So what we want to talk a little bit about from a process perspective and why we're very proud of what we do is that we definitely understand that we live in a COVID accelerated time of innovation expectation. Consumers expect brands to bring innovative ideas into the enterprise, and there is a growing expectation at the C-suite that innovation will be brought into new product lines on a very rapid basis. Next slide, please. However, the reality of it is when we look at the typical processes of innovation, we see that corporate innovation does remain really, really high. Innovation group failure, pre-market and in-market failures are unacceptable. And there are many reasons that we can think about why innovation doesn't work. From a process perspective, from what we refer to as the messy middle. But unfortunately, the ideas there are plenty of ideas, but we find that innovation delivering into the enterprise is really it's a process, and that process becomes really important. Next slide, please. So if you guys are familiar with something called the Gartner hype cycle, every idea that you might have goes through a hype cycle analysis where we get excited about things. We think about them as the sort of trigger. We go into this phase of a peak of inflated expectation. We typically become disillusioned with those ideas, and then we hopefully, if an idea or technology has veracity, we move into an area what we refer to as the plateau of productivity. So we can think of innovation as a discipline actually doing that same thing. Years ago, it was a nice to have. Now it's a have to have. But we've watched this peak and spike, and this also the discipline moving into the trough of disillusionment. We're moving now into the plateau of productivity. Next slide. So what we can see here is a sort of a 40-year trajectory of what has happened from an innovation perspective. We can look back in the 80s and 90s with legacy companies like Texas Instruments, IBM, to really talking about Six Sigma, the idea that need to innovate at the manufacturing level, and then the GAFA group, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, really leaning in from a Silicon Valley perspective and saying, we really, really believe in innovation. On the top of that, people said, well, we need new idea generation. So organizations like Doblin and Singularity came forward and said, we're going to really try to create ideas throughout the enterprise, because what we really need is new ideas. Unfortunately, that became something that we refer to as innovation theater. People became very frustrated because there were too many ideas and not enough solutions. So we, as an organization, said, well, what if we try other things? What if we try open innovation? What if we try crowdsourcing? And none of those things really worked. And so what happened was around the 2010s, people said, this isn't working for us. We need to scale down our innovation organizations and give it a rethink. And the rethink was from companies like KPMG and Procter & Gamble, who were able to think about connecting innovation to the core business. And when innovation is connected to the core business, then it becomes productive in really meaningful ways that I'll explain in a minute. So I feel like we've gone through this process where we're moving out of the innovation theater zone and into real connection to core businesses. Next slide, please. So we have, like any typical business division, we would have objectives, goals, strategies, and measures. So you don't have to read through all this, but we really want to make sure that when we think about innovation as a discipline, that we have a brand-centric approach. We revert to problem-first thinking. We're very process-driven, and we're really focused on the productization of those ideas. Next slide. So when we think about how to bring new ideas into the enterprise, we think of this sort of dog cone of ideas, where on the left hand, you would have prompted ideas, which companies would say, I saw something on Google, or I would like my whites to be whiter and my brights to be brighter. On the other side of the dog cone, you'll start to see these exponential technologies of things that brands can never think about in their current context, but we know influence us. So they could be things like blockchain, AR, VR, and all the solutions that come from those exponential technologies become solutions from emerging technologies, which actually become innovation. So we need to connect the two sides of the dog cone. Next slide. So what we look at is, from an innovation perspective, how do we take these ideas which are prompted and we consider brand ideas and that are incremental in nature? And how do we connect them with the true innovation solutions that are coming from the unprompted world? Next slide. That's where we start to look at things like consumer insights, macro trends, adjacent industries, university incubators, startups like Ecovative, and we say, how can those solutions feed into our strategic planning process? So we take a business forward approach and say, like any other business unit, how can we apply the rigor to make sure that we're getting solutions that the brands need? Next slide. So when we think about this, then we think about a holistic world of two kinds of innovation. Physical innovation that is putting materials on shoes and apparel that we sell. And then we look at what's happening in the digital world from a digital technology perspective, which will help us change the way we sell. And when you put those together, we also have the opportunity to do some really exciting enterprise level innovation. So next slide, please. So given the idea that we're really working from a prompted point of view, brands tell us what they want, and then we make sure to execute from a problem first solution set. Then we can actually say, when we apply rigor and some small amount of math, that we can say that on the digital innovation side, we can develop a portfolio, and on the physical innovation side, we can develop a portfolio of brand desired and required solutions that feed into connection to the core business. And the call out here on this slide is, if you look at the lower right hand part of the right hand disc, about 45% of the solutions that brands are asking us for from a portfolio perspective are sustainable materials in nature. Next slide. So lastly, what we have really realized in terms of delivering innovation into the enterprise is that we do have to do three things. We have to develop a pipeline of new ideas. We have to make sure to manage those ideas and commercialize those ideas into a seasonal format so that they become connected to the core business. And we need to socialize those ideas. So what we're experiencing today is the apotheosis and the apex of this particular slide. Gavin and Ecovative creates, can I just go back one quick second, help us create that pipeline of amazing new ideas. What we're doing from our participation in the Foundry will allow us to manage those into a seasonal cadence. And then we're talking right now from a socialization perspective about what we're doing and why we're doing it. So that kind of wraps up the context of how we think about innovation, how we drive innovation into our brands.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this is such a great visibility and view into all of the amazing work that I know your great team does within Wolverine, Barry, as well as you've got a lot of stakeholders, from your individual brands to your manufacturing partners, and of course, customers that love and enjoy your products day in and day out. So really much appreciate for that visibility in terms of your technical trajectory and innovation approach.
Thank you. We think about things of our responsibility as being, we're responsible from legal to landfill. So we really have to make sure that from a dev's perspective, that we're helping our brands bring solutions into the enterprise that they can rationally productize and they get really excited about.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's certainly been our experience being able to work with you. And of course, your wonderful house of brands too. And I do have a question for you about that, Barry, because since you have this amazing collection of brands that serve both footwear and of course, other categories like Sweaty Betty that you just mentioned, and they all have their own unique needs, desires, and of course the demands from, of course, their general reoccurring customers. And so is there any generalized advice that you would give in terms of qualities for new material solutions that really would translate across product categories?
Footwear is very unique in that it's a very hard-wearing material. So we understand that we're unforgiving in a lot of respects. So one of the things that I think is really important about what we're doing together is we're seeking to be able to develop materials like Forager that are fit for purpose for footwear specifically, which have different physical properties requirements than let's say belts and bags. But we do think about what our end consumers are telling us, and our end consumers, we're striving really hard on our digital shift to make sure that we're thinking all the time about being a consumer-centric portfolio of brands. And what we are finding is that sustainable materials are expected from the end consumer perspective. And so when end consumers tell us that they want more of these kinds of materials in the portfolio of brands, then we develop a quorum, going back to that idea of being brand centric and really being connected to the core business. So our brands are developing, with that 45% number that you saw on the graph, a quorum of and momentum around having us provide these sustainable solutions for the brands. And that becomes really, really important to brand health. One of the things that we see from consumer insights is there has been a typical antipathy to price elasticity for sustainable materials, but that's something that we're also starting to see a little bit more flexibility on, and that was a constraint. But we're starting to see some flexibility on price elasticity at the MSRP level because sustainability is becoming more mainstream.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do want to conserve some time for audience questions, but I do want to touch on one more key attribute of Wolverine worldwide, which I think is really important, especially here at a material innovation conference, which today, of course, Wolverine's not just this house of brands, but you also own and operate your own tanneries, which I think is really unique to Wolverine. And so when you envision not just materials, but the future of your tannery operations as new materials come to market, and of course, as we have increasing demands from environmental considerations arise, what's Wolverine really doing today in order to support innovation within some of their operations?
Yeah, leather is a really important part of our portfolio. Leather is typically a crucial element and component to footwear. We are a vertical operation. We do have tanneries, and there are amazing physical properties of leather. We know that leather is a byproduct of the meat industry, but we also know that there are calls for humans on Earth to eat less meat. I remember in 2019, there was a World Economic Forum UN climate change report that said in order for us to have a sustainable planet, it was suggesting that everyone on planet Earth eat one animal-based meal per week. And that's 500 grams a week. So put that into comparison, they're suggesting that we eat 26 kilograms of meat per year. The average American consumes 125 kilograms a year. And everyone freaked out and they said, "You're taking away our burgers." Right? So we're starting to see this idea around acceptance and mainstreaming of the impact of the leather industry. So we think about a few things. We think about the economics around going into non-leather uppers. We know that if people eat less meat, the cost of leather is going to go up. So developing bio-based materials becomes supply chain resiliency and control of cost of goods. So that just becomes super good business. From a consumer perspective, we're starting to see that it's being driven, and then from a sustainability and consumption point of view, the leather industries for a long time thought about, and some tanneries, people and industries, groups like Leather Working Group have done a fantastic job on water, chemical effluent, water treatment, but there's so much more to be done. So our tannery has been really proud to work on aluminum tannery to move away from chrome. We're actually developing a really exciting project with a company called Qualis, where they use basically mechanical infrastructure inside a tannery to reduce the use of chemistry, water, and energy in the tanning use. So that's a pilot that's going to be going live in July for us. And that's an innovation project that we're driving as well. So there's a ton of innovation that we can drive, not just from the materials point of view, but from the manufacturing point of view, to decrease our negative impact on the environment. And also the last part would be, how do we look at natural dye stuffs? I have to say that this is really, really interesting because Gavin, you and I met many years ago at Fashion for Good. And so to see the growth of influence with Ecovative and with these other solutions moving through our industry, it's really amazing to see the maturation of this process and the acceptability of all these solutions for us, for all of our brands.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's great that your business is really taking that voice of customer, seeing the zeitgeist going on in terms of the transition away from animal agriculture from the food stream, because of course leather, like hides, are a byproduct of that industry, and really future-proofing through innovation within your systems. I think that's really amazing.
It's funny that you use that word, because I had zeitgeist written down as well, and I feel it's not zeitgeist anymore. We've evolved from zeitgeist to mainstreaming, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Perhaps we can field maybe one or two questions real quick from the audience, as Nicole's helped push some along here, which is great. Thank you so much for that, Nicole. One of the questions came from in terms of how we grow our materials, in terms of customer specifications, and if there's minimum order quantities and lead time. So I'll just speak to that really briefly. So from a customer specification side, the industry has very vast and different material performance characteristics, even within the footwear industry. Not all footwear foams or leather-like or leather textiles have the same performance requirements. Barry knows this really well. They have an amazing breadth of data in this area. And so what we can do is we can work with parties like Wolverine, and we can identify what the key performance attributes are, map those to what our past work has accomplished, and then offer a truly unique solution for individual brands and customers for those specific material needs. This goes as far as also understanding from the manufacturing perspective what's needed beyond just the data that might be on an individual sheet. And then today we grow our mycelium sheets, at least on the food side. And of course, we're translating that onto the leather and foam side as well, at 5.5 feet in width and nearly 40 feet in length, which is essentially the 4 times the size of a bovine hide. And of course, we're not constrained to the dimensions of an animal. And so those materials today, they grow in just 9 days. So every 9 days, we can turn over our farms and start to cultivate the next generation of mycelium material. And so, Barry, here's a quick question for you. In terms of what are some of the main natural materials that Wolverine is looking to replace with more sustainable versions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we do on two levels. We are solution agnostic. So we try to sort of eat the world and make sure that we understand as much as we can what's out there. But it's our job to be able to also force rank and understand the technology readiness levels of everything. So there is a lot out there. There's apples. There's solutions like NFW. There's pineapple, and all we're really, really interested in. I will say that it has been really interesting to observe what I call the mushroom arms race. That's been quite amazing, and everyone has gone nuts for mushrooms. So we do feel bullish that mycelium, because it's so similar to the corium structure inside leather, that it probably is the cleverest solution that we see there. But we are solution agnostic. We try to look at everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Barry. Great to have this chat with you and be able to share this with the MIC audience.
Yep. Sorry to have been off camera, but it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Actually, Gavin, I just want to make sure that everyone saw those. Can you show them again? Is that's the hide and the foam?
Yeah, this is our foam. So this is the elastomeric foam that we use for footwear and other types of applications in handbags and the like. And so this is 100% pure mycelium, plastic-free, and entirely natural and compostable. And then this is one of our finished Forager hides, which goes directly into a tannery. So this was dyed and finished using entirely bio-based chemistry, and it's ready for specific handbag applications. So this is a product that we're presently working on too.
Wow. Oh, congratulations to both of you. I honestly learned a lot and made notes for myself too. So I really appreciate both of you joining us today and talking about this important topic.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thanks. So because we are recording all of these sessions, I'm going to take a quick 30-second break so that we can stop the recording and start the next recording. So just hold on 1 second and we'll be back in a moment's time. Thanks.